Good morning, everybody. Happy St. Patrick's Day. I'm here this morning at Vocal House Studio with my good friend Guylene Rodrigue. And as mentioned last week, Guylene is an off-grid consultant. And we have had some interest from people that are wanting to know a little bit more about living off-grid. So as I introduce Guylene, we can find out her journey and what brought her to wanting to live off grid, first of all, and the process that she is taking in building her now second off grid home. So, good morning, Guylene.
Bonjour, Karen. How are you today?
I'm good, thank you.
Happy St. Patrick's Day.
Yeah, thank you. So, how did this journey of, first of all, wanting to even live off grid start for you?
Well, I believe for me, it was a progress. I would say in my mid-30s, and usually for people to change or to start a new journey, sometimes you have to live through an event or a some kind of can be drastic event. So for me, it was the passing of my mom.
Okay.
And from that point on, it's something that I would say the click or something really made me to progress in a way where I wanted to really disconnect, unplug myself from this what I call the system per se.
Yeah.
And the system per se, it's all the dependencies that everyone is while living in an urban setting. And to be closer to nature and be able to be more in sync with Mother Nature per se. And then I started through that journey. I started to do research. I've probably read 10 plus books on how to become or how to go off grid per se. And it's something that as I was reading, I really it really forged an idea of how I wanted to progress in that direction, because let's be realistic, it's not for everyone. It's not everyone that has that maybe urge or need to unplug or go in a setting, a homestead setting where you rely on yourself to progress. And so, starting from that point, I've experienced a few. So, starting with my mom passing, I starting with researching, and then other events came into my life as well. My partner at that time left me as maybe a couple years after, and then then it became more and more. A concrete. I could see at the end of the tunnel. I could see that's a project that really would be feasible for me. And then there's also the I would say my journey internally, my spiritual journey that awakens, combined with that, which wanted for me to go closer to the nature again, to Mother Nature, and relive. I wouldn't say not relive, but to go back to basic of living. So going back to basic is trying to be able to live without the assistance of the dependency of the society, like electricity, the food production, all the supply management. There's a whole bunch of what I call small system dependency that people don't realize we are dependent.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, you just be without your hydro for a few hours when a big storm comes through, and you can't cook supper. You've got no electric lights in the evening. You can't watch Netflix, heaven forbid. But all of these things we are so dependent on. But it's that mind switch, and it's the same conversation Ben and I have had, and we had with Marlene last week, that you have this event that happens in your life that ends up culminating with this push or this pull from your internal being, from your heart, that says, I've really got to do this. And the stronger the pull becomes, then the more you have to do that. So for you, so once these two events happened, what were the first steps for you? Because I know right now you're in the process of building your second home. So how did the first one come about?
So my first one is I had to I had a home, so I had to sell my place, and in order to I mean, you need it financially. You need to have a certain amount of a fairly good financial situation. So I decided to sell my place and rent a room with a gentleman. And in for a number, I would say I stayed probably almost 5 years, which helped me to accumulate a certain amount of
you save more,
and then while I was working pretty close to, I was living pretty close where I work, so in terms of traveling was pretty easy. I used to bike a lot to go there. So while I was concretely taking action, I was also researching on builders, because building a home, I could have potentially, like I could have buy an existing home and try to reconvert it and reorganize it in a way to become off-grid, or you can go and build and specifically for the off-grid system. Both are, I mean, I've known people that are been doing both of it. It all depends how, again, it's a matter of the finance. That's a big part of it. Now there's way to bypass certain maybe big purchase items. However, I decided the first time to go with a builder who built cottages basically, and it was a project manager. And from there, we planned and obviously doing the research for the system, the off-grid itself, and to learn as well, because there's a certain level of technicality that you have to be aware of. However, everyone can learn it. I mean, I'm not an engineer, and I learned the ins and outs of the system per se. So this time it's a different process, in a way that I'm not going through a project management or project managers doing the building. Now I'm doing the project managers.
Okay. Now, can I ask you a question? So when you're looking to build an off-grid home and you're looking for land to purchase, is there a specific type of land? Is there a gradient of land? Is there a north, south, east, west? So what actually comes into looking for the right piece of land to be able to build on? Is there a sequence with that?
It is, and it's all part of the orientation of the land and the orientation of the sun specifically.
Okay.
So people were asking, like, how do you find that? So basically, you have to make sure that you have a sun exposures, a southwest exposures to the sun, especially for the winter sun, because here in the northern hemisphere, the least amount of sun we do have, it's during the winter. So it's the month of November, December, all the way to probably mid-January. That's where we have the least amount of sun exposure. So it's very important for people, if they're looking for land, is to make sure that there is an access to the sun, especially in the winter. So that's where we maximize the system. So during the summer month, it's the opposite. We have so much sun. It may not be as important, but it's the southwest exposures that it's important. So, and obviously you have to be aware of the trees. So when you look for a piece of land, you won't necessarily, you try to avoid the treed lot, the heavily treed lot type of land. Otherwise, you'll have to do a lot of clearance of the land. So So that's something that would be a first step. Is you have to make sure you have a land where you have a good winter sun exposures.
And that's what you have right now.
Exactly.
So we have the video running right now of the land that Guylene has purchased, and you can see there's trees on the outskirts, but it's quite cleared where you. And did you do that clearing all by yourself, or was the land already cleared like that?
No, actually, I had to do it. Yes, and see, right now the edge, it's a pretty. There's a few trees there that I will have to remove because that is the southwest exposures.
Okay.
So right now, yes, we've cleared it. Not myself, but one of the South Shore home person who helped to clear the land. So I had to do myself, and I'm still in the process of clearing close to the fence, where the southwest to maximize that. So we've seen in the last shot there was actually we installed the driveway. That was the last piece prior the Christmas holiday. So everything is ready, and we will start again the process, the building later once the snow has melted. But yes, that's I would say the first thing for an off-grid home is the location and exposures of the land.
And all the trees that you chop down, are they repurposed?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, so what do you do with those? Do you burn wood for yourself, or do you resell it to someone else?
No, I keep it for wood burning, because part of the house there is a wood stove, so I would definitely use that, or use it for structures on the land. So, for example, my clothesline, I would use a trunk. Or if I need to build a fence, I would reuse those piece of wood as well. So yes, nothing is wasted in when you build such a project. For me, to build a off-grid home, there's so many components as well. So for me, it's repurposing everything as much as possible.
Okay. So you mentioned your first home, you had somebody come in and build that. And this time you mentioned South Shore Homes. Now, I know that they are in Perth, Ontario, and they have modular homes. So you would go in and choose your modular home, and how does that, so you design that yourself, or it comes already, this is the kit that you have, and this is how you build it? So that's the process you're going this time?
This time, that's correct. So basically, South Shore Home has a list of various models, modular models. So anyone can exactly go there and pick a model. Some of them has flexibility, so you can even adapt it to your own lifestyle, to your own taste, which I've done, and that's where I am right now. I have finalized my plans. So these are modular home built in or manufactured in-house, so in a enclosed location, and once the land, the foundation of the house is built and everything is ready, they will ship the house and put it on the foundation per se.
And that's where all the fun starts, right?
That's exactly so.
So off-grid living isn't just about putting solar panels up and harnessing the energy from the sun. There's a lot more to it than that.
Absolutely. So it's a lifestyle. So from there, I started to grow my own vegetable in my with my first home. So then you start to learn how to grow vegetable, but it's not just growing during the summer season. You want
to grow them all year.
You want to grow it all year, and if you can't grow it all year, well, you have to learn how to process and can and do the what way back then the pioneers used to do, basically.
So going back to basics isn't necessarily easy.
No, there's some steps to take, and that's why it's a journey. It was a journey. It's kind of a pioneering journey, rediscover the pioneering, I think, spirit that I have. And it's in that same process with building the house, finding the how to grow vegetables, how to manage your food supply. Then I started to hunt.
Okay.
So how do I get my meat? And so hunting, fishing, these are new skills that I've never had before, and I had to learn everything from starting, how to catch, how to process the meat.
Now, I've been fishing.
Yes.
I'm trying to put a minnow on a hook to catch a fish. Yeah, for me that's a challenge. I can't get past this little wiggly thing to stick on a hook, so I go fishing with hot dogs. That works.
That's good. If it works, fine.
That's not quite off-grid living because you have to go to the store to buy the hot dogs
exactly
to hook the hook, but it works for me.
And you know what? We learn by, and I've done a lot of mistakes.
But that's the only way we fail forward.
Absolutely,
and
yes.
that's one of the subjects we brought up last week with Marlene and the conversation that Ben and I have had. There are no mistakes. When you learn something and it doesn't work, you learn the way to try it next, and you keep failing forward until
right.
such time as you go, that works.
Yes. And so when I was mentioning earlier that, trying to unplug myself from the system, so not only it was for my homing situation, but food and communication as well. So
okay, so do you do a CB radio or ham radio?
Exactly. So I went to get
really cool.
my ham radio license, and I started to develop that skills. So it's a technology. It's an old technology, way back from after, I believe, before or right during the Second World War, that was developed through the army, the militaries, and then it became more a civil hobby after the war, and but that's a technology that does not require monthly payment. It does not require antenna to work with electricity.
Okay, so with you just mentioning then about monthly payment, so we know as people are putting solar panels up and doing that, so when you build your home and you go through this process of making it off-grid, so you've got the comparison then between a hydro bill and what?
Well, for me it was the obviously there's an upfront cost when you do the off-grid, because there's a system that you have to purchase. But I always said to people, some people are willing to give or purchase a car for 30-40 grand easily. Well, I just decided to take that money and put it
into off-grid living.
In an off-grid living.
Yeah. So you don't get a hydro bill then?
I don't get hydro bill, and where I'm going to be located, I don't pay water bill too.
Okay.
So these are two fairly
significant things that we pay, and particularly in the winter when we hike, well, even in the summer. So in the winter you hike up your heating and your hydro bill is expensive, and in the summer you hike up the AC because you want to cool yourself down. So this is a massive saving that you recoup very quickly from your initial cost.
Exactly. So the payback, depending how big is your system, they're talking about the payback maybe between the 10 and 15 years, depending how much upfront you want to pay. Now, for me, that was not something that I've really looked into it. For me, it was the sensation of being, free. I've been not dependent of the hydro people to come and put the hydro back.
Yeah. Because
technically, when I was off grid with my first home, I didn't even know when there was a power outage.
Until the internet went off.
Until the internet. There was no internet.
What? There's no internet? That doesn't run off grid? What the heck? Why not, Guylene?
Well, the internet needs electricity to be running.
Well, there you go. Maybe
So
that's something that will develop in the future.
absolutely. So and it's when you look in through all those various, I mean, what I call now these days basics services that people
Yeah.
use, everything runs on electricity,
And we're trapped into that, aren't we?
and regardless, you're very trapped into it. And we had that scenario of the tornadoes
Yes, we did.
last fall here in Ottawa. I mean, some people were out of power for 2, 3 days, and even more, depending
Hmm.
your the consequences of the outcome. And oh boy, does people don't know what to do when
Yeah.
there's out of a
Well,
hydro.
that's all you freezer food. So
Yep.
that's a huge cost if you have huge, great big freezers with all this meat and produce and everything else in there. That all gets thrown away. So when you're without power, that it does. You can't cook, you
Nope.
can't heat your home.
Exactly.
All the food you buy rots depending on how long you're out of power. The ice storm would have been
Yep.
something significant for that too. So where we have these extreme weathers, and it appears that with the tornado last year, is that a potential for something to happen again? Off-grid living becomes more favorable then.
Yes, and many people would, I think, drop by to my place if something
Well, give us
happened.
your address because guess where we're all going. So have a couple of other modular homes around and we'll all move in.
Guest houses, right?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I mean, it's to me, it's an exciting way to live. I've looked in the past to earthships and hobbit homes and different ways of being to live more authentically, or like you say, more um, connected to the earth. So you doing this off-grid living is you living your passion.
Absolutely. And I decided to take the what I call a conventional home, like a regular home
Yeah.
per se. I didn't. I decided not to go the earthship home
Hmm.
or other type of home. And I wanted to, and I also decided to build from scratch, meaning a brand new home. And the reason being is I wanted to maximize the efficiency of the home,
Okay.
which is a cost that usually you would have to do if you purchase a home
Hmm.
and you wanted to put it off grid.
Yeah.
Because there's always um, you always have to consider what I call the shell of the home.
Hmm.
So to maximize that as much as possible. So and that's why maybe the cost is a little bit more upfront as opposed as purchasing an existing home.
Yeah.
But for some people, maybe that might be the best route to go to, and
Hmm.
then do the analysis of the shell, what I call the house shell, because you can put the most expensive off-grid system, but if your shell is not uh, top or maximize, I mean,
Yeah.
you'll spend nothing, too much for the efficiency of the house. So for me, that was the my that's why I decided to go with a brand new builder and just a regular home built and a simple house, nothing fancy with
Yeah.
all the bell and whistle and with the fancy roof line and just a regular small home. And that's the key word, small home.
Yeah.
Nothing too big because a home, you have to operate the home.
Yeah.
In the summer, you've got the AC. Most people have AC, and in the winter, you have it to heat
Hmm.
the home too.
Yeah.
So these are things you have to take in consideration when you decide to go off grid. So my second home actually is going to be smaller than my first home.
Okay.
So I
So it
decided
should be easier to operate.
it should be easier and more efficient, and it should be cost less basically to
Yeah.
operate it.
So that was the video that was playing of the land that Guylene has purchased, and as mentioned, she purchased a modular home from South Shore Homes in Perth, Ontario. Um, so once you've got this up, we're going to follow you on this journey, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. This is just the starting point here.
So the land is a starting point, and as Guylene goes and the home gets placed and the technology and the equipment needed in order to make that off grid, we're going to follow your journey in that.
Absolutely, yes. And that's
which is kind of exciting.
Yes, I'm looking forward to it. I think it's I believe it's something that I would have enjoy. I didn't have the chance to go and go see a real off-grid home before I started my first project.
So you've learned through failing forward.
Absolutely, yes. And I hope, and I invite everyone to contact me if they want to know how it looks like an off-grid home and how to start.
Exactly. So you've now started your off-grid consultancy business.
Yes.
Because when you were doing this several years ago, there was nowhere other than books to go for that information.
Absolutely.
So when it comes to maintaining batteries and maintaining your solar panels and doing all the steps required to have a optimal functioning off-grid home, we're going to go through that process.
Yes, absolutely. And that's something that I want to teach the people, because once you're living, that's one thing to build a home, but living in a home,
yes,
it's a learning experience.
Yeah.
I've mentioned I've read a lot of books, but basically it's like I didn't read anything. I've learned as I was living in it. Yeah. And that is a process in itself.
Yeah.
So yes, I'm looking forward to share with everyone that
this is exciting. This is exciting. So as we continue with this journey with Guylene, you're going to see step-by-step process, even down to her vegetable gardens and ways to plant and marry vegetables together so that you get optimal growth and that process. So this is all going to be an ongoing learning for all of us, me included, and even maybe down to canning. If you've never done any canning before and it's something that you've always wanted to do, then this is an ongoing thing that you can now preserve your own vegetables that you have grown through the summer so that you have them through the winter to be able to sustain you through long winter months like we've just in the process of coming out of. So this is exciting in the ongoing growth of your new home and being open to share all of this experience, good, bad, or indifferent, so that you can see the process. So if it's something that you've always thought about or had an idea of, or, oh, that seems neat, but it's just too hard, then you're going to see that process with you and your now second home that you're just waiting for the snow to go so we can start the whole thing.
Yes, and I encourage everyone who may have maybe an interest to go that route, to go off grid, to come and have a look what it
looks like.
Exactly what it looks like, and the process. How to start from where I am now and where I want to go as an off-grid.
Yeah.
Yes, and I'm looking forward to share everything and encourage everyone to come. Once all the project is completed, I'm sure we'll do we'll do one from the place, right?
That'll be it. So it's going to be an ongoing open house.
There will be many open houses.
This is really exciting. So this is truly living your passion, and your passion can be anything. From off-grid living to painting to doing what my son does with Vocal House Studios. This is his passion. And to mine, which is sat here doing this with you. So this is exciting to be able to share all these experiences. So if you really would like to get hold of Guylene, her phone number is 613-806-7946. Or if you want to email her with questions that you may have, her email address is guylena@yahoo.com, which is GUYLENER@yahoo.com. So I invite you to ask questions, post, share this video. If you have an opportunity to share it on your Facebook page, please do so, because you may have a friend that has always been interested in off-grid living, and this may be the starting point of them living their passion also. So I thank you for being here this morning. I thank Guylene for being here this morning, and for Ben for opening up his home at Vocal House Studio. And please share, please comment, please contact us, and continue to help each other up level, one person at a time, one passion at a time, and keep Rebels Compass going. Have a super fantastic St. Patrick's Day, and I look forward to seeing you next week. Bye.